The village of Nyanza lay in the heart of the vast African savanna, nestled between golden plains and dense forests. The villagers lived simple, yet harmonious lives, bound together by shared customs and a deep reverence for the spiritual forces that governed their world. Among them was a young woman named Ayo, whose curiosity and adventurous spirit often set her apart from others. Ayo had always been captivated by the tales the elders told around the evening fires. Her favorite was the story of the Forbidden Valley, a mysterious place hidden deep within the forest. According to legend, the valley was once a prosperous land, blessed by the gods, with bountiful harvests and crystal-clear rivers. But its inhabitants grew greedy and disrespected the natural balance, incurring the wrath of the spirits. The valley was cursed, and those who ventured there never returned. The warnings were clear, but they only fueled Ayo's curiosity. To her, the Forbidden Valley was a challenge, a riddle begging to be solved. When she turned 21, Ayo decided it was time to explore the world beyond the confines of Nyanza, and the valley was at the top of her list. One crisp morning, as the sun painted the horizon in hues of orange and pink, Ayo announced her intentions to the village. Her declaration was met with gasps and murmurs of disapproval. The elders, clad in their ceremonial robes, gathered around her. Among them was Elder Kofi, the wisest and oldest of them all, who carried an air of authority that silenced even the boldest. "Ayo," Elder Kofi began, his voice trembling with both age and concern. "You are young and brave, but bravery without wisdom is folly. The Forbidden Valley is not a place for mortals. The spirits there are vengeful, and their wrath spares no one." Ayo bowed her head respectfully, but stood firm. "Elder, I mean no disrespect to our traditions, but I cannot live my life confined by fear of the unknown. Perhaps the valley's curse is just a tale to keep us from venturing too far. I must see it for myself." Elder Kofi's eyes narrowed. He raised his gnarled hand and pointed to her with a warning. "If you choose this path, you must accept the consequences. The spirits give warnings for a reason." Despite his words, Ayo's resolve did not waver. That night, she prepared for her journey. She packed dried meat, nuts, a small gourd of water, and a talisman her late mother had given her for protection. As she left her hut under the cover of darkness, she felt a pang of guilt for defying her people, but her excitement outweighed her apprehension. The forest loomed ahead, its towering trees forming a dense canopy that blocked the moonlight. Ayo's footsteps were muffled by the soft earth, and the night was alive with the sounds of crickets and distant hoots of owls. She moved cautiously but with determination, her heart pounding in anticipation. As she ventured deeper, the forest grew eerily quiet. The vibrant chirps and rustles of wildlife were replaced by an unsettling stillness. Ayo felt the weight of unseen eyes watching her. She clutched her mother's talisman and pressed forward. Hours passed before she reached the edge of the Forbidden Valley. A cold mist clung to the air, and the landscape beyond the trees seemed shrouded in an unnatural glow. The valley was breathtaking, with lush greenery and a river that sparkled like liquid silver under the faint light. But there was something off about it, something that made the hairs on the back of Ayo's neck stand on end. Ignoring her unease, she descended into the valley. At first, everything seemed normal. She marveled at the strange plants and vibrant flowers that were unlike anything she had seen before. One flower, a brilliant shade of indigo, pulsed faintly as if alive. But as she ventured further, the atmosphere grew heavier, as though the air itself resisted her presence. The first sign of trouble came when she tried to take a sip from the river. As she bent down, she caught her reflection in the water. For a moment, it seemed normal, but then her reflection smiled while her own face remained neutral. Startled, she stumbled back, the gourd slipping from her grasp and spilling its contents onto the ground. "You should not have come," a voice whispered, soft and haunting. Ayo whipped around, her eyes scanning the trees, but she saw no one. Her pulse quickened. She clutched her talisman tightly and muttered a prayer her mother had taught her. As the day wore on, the valley seemed to come alive in ways that defied logic. The trees swayed without wind, their branches creaking like whispers in a language she couldn't understand. Shadows danced on the ground, though there was no light to cast them. And then there were the voices, soft, melodic, and chilling, that seemed to emanate from everywhere and nowhere at once. Ayo tried to ignore them, telling herself they were tricks of her imagination. But when night fell, the valley revealed its true nature. The silver river turned black, and the once vibrant plants seemed to wither before her eyes. A dense fog enveloped her, and the whispers grew louder, forming coherent words. "Why have you come?" the voices demanded in unison. "I mean, no harm," Ayo shouted, her voice trembling. "I came to learn the truth about this place." The fog parted slightly, revealing a figure cloaked in shadow. It was neither man nor beast, but something in between. Its eyes glowed like embers, and its voice was a guttural growl. "The truth is not yours to claim. You were warned." Ayo's knees buckled, but she refused to cower. "Please, I only wish to understand." The figure laughed, a sound that echoed like thunder. "Very well, mortal. You seek the truth? Then you shall have it." Before Ayo could react, the ground beneath her feet split open, and she was swallowed by darkness. When she awoke, she found herself in a cavern lit by an otherworldly glow. The walls were adorned with carvings that told the story of the valley, its rise, its fall, and the curse that had doomed it. At the center of the cavern stood a pool of shimmering light. "This is the heart of the valley," the shadowy figure said, now standing beside her. "Look into the pool, and you will see the truth." Ayo approached cautiously and gazed into the pool. What she saw left her breathless. The water showed her the past, the arrogance of the valley's people, and the wrath of the spirits. Their opulence had turned into decay, their songs into wails. But then it shifted, showing her own village, her family, and the choices that had led her here. She saw herself ignoring Elder Kofi's warning, and the spirits watching her every step. Tears streamed down her face as she realized the magnitude of her mistake. "I was foolish," she whispered. "I should have listened." The figure's voice softened, taking on an almost human tone. "Every choice has consequences. You were given a warning, and you chose to ignore it. But there is still hope." Ayo looked up, her eyes pleading. "Tell me what to do." "Return to your village," the figure said. "Share what you have learned. Teach them to respect the balance, or the curse of this valley will spread." Before releasing her, the figure raised its hand, and a golden thread of light wove into her talisman. "This will remind you of the cost of defiance," it said. "Let it guide you." With a wave of its hand, the figure transported her back to the edge of the forest. The morning sun bathed the land in golden light, and for a moment Ayo thought she had dreamt it all. But the weight in her heart and the knowledge she now carried told her otherwise. When she returned to Nyanza, the villagers were both relieved and astonished to see her alive. She fell to her knees before Elder Kofi and recounted everything she had experienced. Her tale left the village in stunned silence, and for the first time, Ayo saw the wisdom in their traditions. From that day forward, Ayo became a guardian of her people's stories and lessons. She shared the truth of the Forbidden Valley, not as a tale of fear, but as a reminder of the importance of respect for nature, for tradition, and for the warnings of those who came before. The valley remained forbidden, its secrets preserved by Ayo's cautionary tale. And though her journey had been harrowing, it left her with a deeper understanding of her place in the world, and the delicate balance that sustained it. Yet, some nights, as the moon hung low, she would feel the faint hum of the talisman and remember the shadow's warning, a reminder that even knowledge has its limits, and some mysteries are best left undisturbed. But the tale did not end there. Over time, Ayo's experiences began to transform her in ways she could not have anticipated. The knowledge she carried made her more introspective and deeply connected to the unseen forces of the world. She often wandered to the edge of the forest, not to defy its boundaries again, but to meditate and seek guidance from the spirits. The golden thread in her talisman seemed to pulse with life, growing warmer whenever she sought answers to the challenges that arose in her village. Gradually, Ayo noticed subtle changes in herself. She developed an uncanny ability to sense imbalances, whether it was a drought threatening their crops or an argument brewing between villagers. Her presence became a calming influence, her words carrying the weight of someone who had glimpsed the deeper truths of existence. One fateful season, the rains failed to arrive. The crops withered under the relentless sun, and the river began to dry up. Fear and desperation spread through Nyanza like wildfire. The villagers turned to their elders, but the solutions of the past seemed powerless against the severity of their plight. It was then that Ayo stepped forward, her talisman glowing faintly as if urging her to act. "We must honor the spirits and restore the balance," she told the villagers. "The land suffers because we have neglected the harmony between ourselves and nature." Elder Kofi, though skeptical at first, supported her. Together, they organized a ceremony unlike any the village had ever seen. Guided by visions that came to her in dreams, Ayo instructed the villagers to gather offerings of their most cherished possessions, not as sacrifices, but as symbols of gratitude and humility. On the night of the ceremony, the villagers assembled at the edge of the forest. Ayo stood at the center, her voice strong and unwavering as she led them in prayers and songs that called to the spirit. The air grew heavy with anticipation, and the ground beneath their feet seemed to hum with energy. As the final song reached its crescendo, a gentle rain began to fall, soft at first, but quickly building into a life-giving downpour. The villagers cheered, their faith in the old ways restored. From that day, they regarded Ayo not just as a guardian of their stories, but as a bridge between their world and the realm of the spirits. Her influence grew, and she became a respected leader, her wisdom sought in times of crisis and celebration alike. Yet, Ayo remained humble. She never forgot the lesson of the Forbidden Valley that power and knowledge were gifts to be used with care and reverence. She often warned the younger generations about the dangers of hubris and the importance of listening to the wisdom of their elders. One evening, as she sat by the fire with a group of children, Ayo noticed a boy named Omari, staring intently at her talisman. "What is it, Omari?" she asked, smiling. "Does it still hum?" the boy asked, his voice filled with wonder. "Does it still guide you?" Ayo placed a hand over the talisman and nodded. "Yes, Omari. It hums softly, reminding me of the path I must walk. But it also reminds me that not all paths are meant to be tread. Some secrets are best left untouched, and some warnings are given out of love, not fear." As the children listened, their eyes wide with fascination, Ayo felt a deep sense of fulfillment. The stories she shared were not just tales of caution, but lessons in understanding the delicate balance of their world. Years passed, and Ayo grew older. Her hair turned silver, and her steps slowed, but her spirit remained as vibrant as ever. The village flourished under her guidance, its people thriving in harmony with the land and its unseen guardians. And though the Forbidden Valley remained shrouded in mystery, its story lived on, passed from one generation to the next as a testament to the enduring power of respect and wisdom. The villagers gathered to celebrate her life on the night of her passing. As they sang and danced under the starlit sky, a soft golden light appeared at the edge of the forest, flickering like a distant firefly. Some said it was the spirits honoring Ayo, welcoming her into their eternal embrace. Others believed it was Ayo herself, now a part of the very balance she had dedicated her life to preserving. The tale of Ayo and the Forbidden Valley became a cornerstone of Nyanza's culture, a reminder that curiosity and courage must be tempered with humility and respect. And so, her legacy endured, woven into the fabric of the village's identity, inspiring generations to come to walk the fine line between exploration and reverence for the unknown. The wisdom of heeding warnings. Ayo recounted the shadow's final words, and how ignoring the elder's warnings had nearly cost her everything. "Warnings are not chains meant to bind us," she said. "They are lanterns that light our path, guiding us away from dangers we cannot yet see." Wisdom is born from curiosity and the humility to listen and learn from those who came before us. Her words resonated deeply, and the villagers vowed to live with greater mindfulness. They established rituals to honor the spirits of the land and sought to live in harmony with their surroundings. Ayo's story became a cornerstone of their culture, passed down through generations as a tale of caution and enlightenment. As for Ayo, she continued to serve as a bridge between her people and the unseen forces that governed their world. She never returned to the Forbidden Valley, but its lessons remained etched in her heart and soul. Her talisman, now a sacred relic, constantly reminded her of the balance she had fought to restore. And so, the story of Ayo and the Forbidden Valley became a timeless legend, carrying with it the enduring morals of respect, balance, and the wisdom of heeding the voices of those who guide us even when their warnings challenge our desires.